Riders head towards a large mountain in the belly of which lives a beast. The soldiers descend into the depths of the mountain. While searching for the monster, they find something else that they immediately destroy. When the beast returns to the belly of the mountain, it burns the soldiers to ashes. Their king surrenders, and the beast lets them live after making a terrible deal. Centuries later, in a distant land, Elodie and Floria, two princesses, are cutting wood on the outskirts of the city. They gather raw materials to survive the cold winter. In the castle where they live, there are hardly any people left. There is little food and those who can leave the countryside. When they return home, a red priestess and her parents are waiting for them in the great hall of the castle. The Queen of Aria approached the girl's parents with a proposal of marriage. It turns out that the Aria family is extremely wealthy. Since the girl's family and people are starving, Elodie finally accepts the offer and they set off on a journey across the sea. The girl's stepmother loves the two girls very much. She asks Elodie and Floria to take care of themselves and to take something to wear on the windy boat trip. The sea is covered in fog as the king signals that they are approaching the shores of Aria. Burning dragon statues emerge from the fog as the family approaches the shore. A golden carriage awaits them on the shore, which takes the family through a wonderful and rich landscape to the castle of Aria. The servants escort the family to their residence as they marvel at the majestic castle walls. Elodie is excited about her suitor as she prepares to meet him. A magnificent view opens up from the balcony where she also sees another princess. It is dusk and Mallory is drawing in her room. She goes out onto the balcony again, but the princess she saw earlier has apparently left the room. She sees a light in the distance when Floria arrives in her room. The little girl can't sleep, so Elodie accompanies her to her room. The next day, Elodie is introduced to the royal family and Prince Henry, her future fiancé. Elodie and Henry then get to know each other in the park. Henry is a well-mannered, kind boy, and it seems that the future couple like each other. Henry really liked Elodie's letter, which showed him that the girl is truly special. At Elodie's suggestion, they hop on a horse and gallop through the beautiful countryside. Meanwhile, Elodie's father and the Aria royal family are discussing the wedding. Elodie's stepmother asks the king about the details. The king is in an extremely sad mood, but it turns out that they are offering a lot of money for the wedding. Henry and Elodie really like each other by the end of the walk. Elodie's stepmother and the queen talk during the preparations. The queen is very cold and objective. Marriage is just a business for them. They need a bride and are willing to pay a lot for it. Elodie and Floria are getting dressed when their stepmother comes into the room. She tries to warn Elodie that her intuition is very bad and that the wedding should be cancelled. The king also arrives and scolds the woman not to fill Elodie's head with negative thoughts. The next day, Elodie is dressed in a golden dress for the ceremony. Her father leads her to the altar where everyone is waiting. Henry puts a ring on her finger and she becomes the princess of Aria. She says goodbye to her family, then she and her husband set off for the ceremony that Henry had previously told the girl about. Arriving at the mountain, men in golden masks and the queen await the young couple. The queen tells the story presented at the beginning of the film, when an ancient king confronted the monster. It turns out that the ancient king sacrificed his 3 daughters so that the monster would let him and his kingdom live. The queen makes a blood pact with the couple to make Elodie a princess by blood. Elodie then throws the coin into the pit, and Henry picks her up and they head towards the palace. Henry asks the girl to close her eyes, then at an unexpected moment throws her into the pit. The walls of the abyss are covered with dense vegetation, so Elodie survives the fall. She screams for help, but no one hears her from the depths. She tries to climb out of the abyss when she realizes that she has become the next victim. She heads towards a faint light, which turns out to be from a burning bird. She puts out the burning animal, but suddenly hundreds of burning birds fly towards her from the darkness of the cave. The birds all fall and burn when Elodie hears the monster's voice. The girl flees as the dragon begins to speak to her. She realizes that the blood pact was meant to make the dragon feel that she has royal blood in her veins. People pay their debt to the monster by offering sacrifices through deception. Elodie starts running when the dragon breathes fire. While fleeing, she sees the body of the girl she saw on the balcony earlier, and the picture begins to come together. She tries to hide, but the dragon's fire eventually reaches her leg and she is seriously wounded. She bandages her wound, lights her necklace, and then starts looking for an exit. Her wedding dress prevents her from climbing when it suddenly tears and Elodie falls. After the fall, she has difficulty breathing and her necklace goes off. Groping in the dark, she finally reaches a glowing room which is divided by a huge chasm. She throws her engagement ring into the chasm, then gathers the strength to jump. She manages to pull herself up with her knife and begins to examine the blue light more closely. It turns out that the light is emitted by larvae, of which Elodie collects a large amount into a piece of cloth to illuminate. Behind the light, she finds water under a dripping icicle, then stands under the ice and tries to drink. The ice suddenly begins to melt, and the shadow of the monster appears. Elodie manages to hide in a smaller cave in time before the dragon's fire reaches her. On the wall of the cave, she finds the names of previously sacrificed princesses. It turns out that many have been in her situation before, and it is unlikely that anyone has ever escaped. Her wound is badly infected, causing her to have a fever and visions. The princesses appear before her, and she suddenly wakes up to find glowing larvae crawling on her wound. She is very scared and quickly takes them off when she notices that her leg is almost completely healed. She places one of the snails on the wound on her hand when she realizes that the larvae have healing powers. In the small cave, she finds a map that she uses to find her way around. She finds a section on the map that looks like a way out, which suggests that one of the princesses has managed to get out of the cave. She tears off her unnecessary clothes, carves her name on the wall, and sets off. She uses the larvae to light up while hearing voices and then music in the dark. The music leads Elodie to a cave exit covered in crystals. The crystals are extremely sharp, but she finds the crown of Princess Victoria, who made the map, and begins to believe in her escape. She wraps pieces of clothing around her hands and feet, then uses the crown to climb. She's more than halfway up when the dragon appears below her, and she realizes that there is no way back. She reaches the top and sees the light, but the exit is on the side of the mountain and there is a huge chasm below her. In the distance, she sees people from whom she tries to ask for help when the monster attacks her. Suddenly, she sees Victoria's body and then learns from the dragon that there is no way out. The dragon wants to kill the girl when suddenly they hear sounds from the cave and flies away. The girl's father, the king, has arrived with some soldiers to free Elodie. Elodie climbs down the crystals and then finds the bodies of the monster's offspring in the Great Hall. He pieces together the story that centuries ago, 3 of the dragon's eggs were destroyed, and since then he has been demanding 3 real daughters from the bloodline of the ancient king. The soldiers cry out for Elodie when the monster suddenly snatches one of them and she dies a horrible death. At the end of the fight, only the king remains, who signals to the dragon that he has come for his daughter. The dragon tries to summon the girl with the king while Elodie watches from a distance. The king made a terrible mistake by sacrificing Elodie and apologizes to his daughter. The dragon orders the king to call his daughter, but the king does not obey. The dragon digs its claws into the king when it suddenly hears sounds. It chases after one of the soldiers as Elodie rushes to her father. The king dies in his arms, and Elodie then tries to climb the rope to the exit. The dragon is busy with the soldier when it notices Elodie trying to escape and breathes fire. Elodie finally manages to escape from the cave and then starts galloping on the king's horse. She jumps off the horse and hides under a rock, while the dragon breathes fire angrily. The entire mountain bursts into flames, which the queen can no longer stand idly by. The queen rushes to Elodie's ship, kidnaps Floria, and stabs their stepmother to pay off the family's debt. Elodie emerges from her hiding place when her stepmother comes towards her on horseback. She learns that her sister has been kidnapped and is about to be sacrificed. She heads towards the mountain while the queen sacrifices Floria at the precipice. Elodie climbs after her sister, who has already been kidnapped by the dragon. She prepares for battle, smears herself with maggots, sets a trap for the dragon, and draws the sword of the ancient king. The dragon cries for her young while waiting for Elodie. The trap Elodie has set works, and the dragon flies to the other side of the cave. Elodie rushes to Floria, whose leg was badly injured in the fall. The dragon realizes that she has been tricked while Elodie hides Floria. Elodie tells the dragon that they are lying to her and that they are not the daughters of the Aurea house. The dragon does not believe her and attacks the girl, but Elodie stabs her and she falls into the water. Elodie's body is badly burned, but with the help of Floria, she runs after her sword again. The dragon catches her and stabs her with her claws, but Elodie gouges out the dragon's eye with her knife. The dragon is blinded by its wound, so Elodie manages to stab the monster several times with her sword. The dragon is badly injured, but with the last of her strength she goes after the bleeding Elodie. Elodie provokes the monster in front of a pillar. The dragon breathes fire, but the flames bounce back and the monster eventually burns itself, then collapses. Elodie approaches with the sword and explains to the dragon how they got the royal blood and how they have been beating the dragon for years. The dragon realizes that he has been killing innocent girls for years and asks Elodie to end his life. However, Elodie collects larvae, puts them on the dragon's wound and heals the monster. Meanwhile, another ceremony is taking place in the castle. Elodie's coin rolls across the floor back to the Queen's feet, when suddenly the girl appears in her torn wedding dress. The wedding party freezes as Elodie confronts the new princess with the truth. He gives her a chance to escape, but the Queen and the Aurea family do not move. The dragon appears behind Elodie and terror grips the palace. The monster breathes fire and burns the entire Aurea family. The Queen's golden crown melts on her head, and the entire castle bursts into flames and burns to ashes. Elodie walks out of the burning castle on the bridge, while the dragon accompanies her on her way. Elodie and her family board a boat at sunset. They set off home, accompanied by the dragon, who becomes the family's ally forever due to the girl's influence.
Make sure to subscribe and turn the notifications on so you can watch more movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.